Welcome to the Art of Procurement podcast with your host, Philip Eidson. Here, thought leaders share the trends, strategies, and tactics that you can use to elevate the role of procurement and your career.
Hey everybody, it's that time of the week again, and it's the Art of Procurement Friday show. So this week, I want to talk about my big idea. And what's that all about is probably something that you're asking right now. And if you haven't heard, so the procurement networking site Procurious, they just launched an initiative. It's called the Big Idea for 2016. So it's the second annual Big Idea Summit that Procurious has held. And the summit's really a hybrid of an in-person and an online event. So it's based in London. I think they have 50 people there. And then there's an online aspect to the event as well. The concept is for leaders across procurement really to discuss what they think will be the next big idea that's going to transform our profession. So as part of the event, they solicit what they call big ideas from procurement professionals, really from around the world, and they ask you to submit a 60-second video of you discussing your big idea. And, I think this is a really great idea. So when I heard that submissions, well, actually, if I go back, I, followed it in 2015, so I was aware of the concept. And then I heard a couple of days ago that submissions were going to be open for 2016. So I was really eager to share my big idea and just kind of participate in the process and have fun participating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to submit a video of my own. And I'll also link up in the instructions on how you can submit your idea in the show notes. And that's going to be at artofprocurement.com/mybigidea. So yeah, if you want to find out how to submit your own big idea, just go to artofprocurement.com/mybigidea and we'll link it up there. Also, I want to stress that as I record this, I don't have any affiliation with the event. I was just inspired by the premise of the big idea. So I thought, why not kind of join in the fun? So before I do go into my big idea, just a friendly reminder that if you haven't done so, you can sign up to be notified every time an episode of The Art of Procurement is published. To do that, just head on over to artofprocurement.com/subscribe. You can pop in your email address right there, and I'll email you every time another show goes live. And typically you'll get 2 or 3 emails a week. As a thank you, and I know that I am very grateful when you share your email address with me. What I'll do is I'll send a couple of reports that we've featured actually as individual downloads in the past. One of them is related to helping you in your procurement job search if you are looking for a change of job or a change of career this year. And they're based on interviews that I've had on the show with a couple of recruiters. And the next one is something that I put together based on my experience, which was a number of key questions you can ask to really help determine what the health of a relationship you have with a supplier is, what the health of the engagement is, and whether that engagement, what's the likelihood that it's going to meet its the contractual kind of requirements over the full life of the contract. So those are just a thank you for signing up to receive emails whenever we publish a show. And again, you can go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe. Okay then, well, what's my big idea? My big idea is that procurement as a service delivery models, they're going to transform how companies structure their procurement organizations and how they access procurement capabilities like us. I think that this model is going to be even more striking, more transformative for mid-sized companies. And, it's hard to put a finger on what a mid-sized company is. I'm thinking broadly in the $500 million to $1 billion and then up to 10 billion revenue range. So before you go into the off button, you've heard another kind of jargon that's a piece of jargon that's hot right now. Let me explain. And first of all, what do I mean by procurement as a service in this context? So to me, the premise of procurement as a service is essentially that organizations are able to access procurement talent and procurement technology, basically on an as and when they need it basis. So, on demand, essentially. And they only pay when they use it, so it's pay on use. So how is that different from today? Well, I'm talking broadly here. And obviously, there's going to be some exceptions to the rule. But when I think about how companies are typically organizing their procurement departments today, they're typically investing in an in-house team of specialists and journalists, along with the end-to-end kind of do everything technology suites. If they are using third parties as part of their delivery model, then it's typically under a long-term outsourcing agreement, and those can range from anywhere from 1 to 5 years, and those are more often than not kind of black box, so you pay one price rather than paying for the individual components of it. And all those scenarios that I talked about really a fixed cost. There may be some element of variable cost in there, but the majority of the cost is fixed. When you think about the as-a-service model, that's basically shifting that 180 degrees and takes you to a generally or a broadly pay-on-use model. So in that model, there may be a little bit of fixed cost, but it's mostly pay-on-use. I think this really can be transformative for procurement for a number of reasons, but I'm just going to give a single use case as an example. So in this example, imagine that you're a mid-sized company somewhere in that $1 billion to $10 billion range, and the indirect procurement team is staffed by journalists. So procurement professionals who, have strong technical skills, and they do rely on relationship building skills to be successful in bringing spend under management. But also on the flip side, if they don't have those relationship building skills, then that's a big inhibitor to bringing spend under management. And the reason why there's more generalists in those roles is because the spend of each individual category at that kind of size revenue company just isn't enough to justify the investment in category specialists or domain experts. And these professionals that don't have the domain expertise rely on process, I find, more often than not to deliver value. And value in this case, because it's process driven, is typically defined as cost reductions or cost avoidance. However, if you allow me to kind of peer into the future, imagine if the CPO had access to a pre-approved pool of subject matter experts, and they have the associated market intelligence that just comes from being in a specific marketplace all day, every day for any particular category that you may need. And what if this talent can be called on whenever it's needed, and it can be for an hour, it can be for a day, it can be for a week, it can be for a month, it can be for 3 or 6 months, but essentially the premise is that you can use it when you need it, and that talent isn't just sitting around waiting to be used, waiting to be called into action. So when you have access to that subject matter expertise and the domain knowledge, procurement's able to relate on equal terms with key stakeholders. And I think that we're now, at that point, able to deliver value based on business outcomes that are important to the stakeholder that, most of the times it's more than cost. It's about finding suppliers who can actually bring innovative products to market, or can help speed to market, or have different solutions that help us think outside the box. It's not just about cost, obviously. So consider the impact that would have on the role that procurement would play in the company as a result of that shift. And to me, that's just an example of how procurement as a service can be transformational. And so at that point, the impact is that the procurement organization, goes from being a team of generalists to, I think, a team of relationship managers. And the role of the relationship managers is to coordinate that acquisition of subject matter expertise and then bring it back and integrate it into the strategies that encompass new product development, category management. It can be sourcing projects. It can be the management of risk, of governance, and supplier collaboration. So essentially, the folks in-house become a team that are just able to pull expertise from various different places located really all around the world, bring it back, and then package it into something that creates all that value for the stakeholder. So what does that mean individually? Well, I think that if you're listening to this and you're a journalist, then my advice would be to start specializing. And actually, going back to Procurious, Tanya Siri, the founder of Procurious, had an interview with me all the way back. I think it was episode 2. And Tanya was talking about the concept of micro-niching. So just becoming extremely specialized in one particular thing that you can do and be the expert. And that can be at category level, but it can also be a specialist program manager in this context, being able to bring together all these different pieces. Or it can be a specialist in business development, so going and farming, in bringing in stakeholders into the procurement process. So it doesn't necessarily have to be category expertise, but it's that you do one thing better than anybody else can do it within your company. What does that also mean? It means that people with that expertise, the value rises exponentially. And I'm thinking particularly of the folks that are kind of in that pre-approved pool. Now they're able to charge their services based on value rather than based on time. They can create an extraordinary amount of value in a short period of time, which then allows them to build, businesses around their expertise rather than just working as an employer for one company. So that's just one impact that I believe the procurement as a service model can have on procurement organizations. And so that is my big idea. So now it's over to you. And you can submit your big idea to Procurious by going to artofprocurement.com/mybigidea. That's artofprocurement.com/mybigidea and clicking on the link to Procurious. And what you'll find is a link that goes to the blog post that Procurious wrote about how you can get in touch and submit your big idea. So thank you for allowing me to indulge in my big idea. And I'll be back on Tuesday with another interview with a thought leader who is passionate in helping us elevate the role of procurement. So until then, have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Art of Procurement. To find an archive of all past episodes, you can go to artofprocurement.com/episodes. And to ensure you never miss another show, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe.